So we need to find a way to cut down the amount of light that's coming in.
Ways that we work outdoors is we diffuse, we reflect, and we bounce. It's much better. It's significantly better.
Here's the problem, Casey. I don't like this. This is too easy. Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Ted, and today we're gonna talk about how to shoot an interview outdoors, make a beautiful looking frame, and do audio. We're gonna do it all step by step so that you can follow along. And to go over this today, I got my buddy over here, Casey McBeath. What's up, Casey?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
Doing good. So if you don't know, Casey shoots basically some of the biggest interviews in the world for the Oscars, the Golden Globes. And a lot of the time when you're shooting indoors, it's controlled, right? You can studio light things, you know your surroundings. But for outdoor locations, there's a lot of things that change here. So we're gonna go through all those details and teach you how to make a beautiful frame that looks like this. And to actually go into our actual frame today, we got Nerda over here. Get in here. So this is Nerda. So Nerda, we are doing a fake commercial for a fake business. What is the business that we're talking about today?
It is the Plant Adoption Agency,
Okay.
But it's more of a plant daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Plant daycare.
Plant
So
daycare,
for
plant
busy
daycare.
parents that can't take care of their plants, they drop their plants off or they adopt a plant.
And
So-
we take care of them for the day.
All right, sounds good. So we're gonna make a beautiful ad for this plant daycare agency. So, you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do this. Okay, so starting off real quick, my first question I gotta ask Casey is, Casey, when you normally shoot on a camera, what's the normal camera that you shoot with?
I mean, I've used
Casey,
a lot of...
you're boring me so much. I really don't care at all. So you know what? I'm just gonna give you this camera over here. This right here is the Canon 6D Mark II. This is kind of a consumer basic level camera. And we're doing this today just to show people that no matter what camera you have, you can always get a beautiful looking frame no matter what.
I knew you were gonna do this. I didn't even bring my camera because I knew you were gonna pull this
Here you
together.
go. So starting off, Casey, when we're working with a camera like this, what is the first thing that we need to know about shooting outdoors?
I mean, when you're shooting outdoors, the main thing is you're gonna have so much more light than any situation when you're indoors. So we need to figure out how to take the exposure triangle that everybody's used to, which is ISO, shutter speed, iris, and figure out how to get those settings the way we want them and still get the exposure we want. So we need to figure out how to break the exposure triangle.
And this is code word for cinematic. Yeah. So what I mean by that is because a lot of you guys, when you guys are looking this up online, you guys are looking up, how do I make my image look cinematic outdoors? And really what you're probably referring to is you're referring to this little blurred out background. So how do we achieve the blurred out background effect in the first place?
So when we're talking about a blurred out background, what we're talking about is a shallow depth of field. So that's all based off the iris of the camera. So the wider that iris is, the narrower depth of field is, the more out of focus the background is. So just by cranking that iris as wide open as we want it to be, we can get that blurred background. But the main thing is you're gonna be letting in so much more light.
Let's set up a frame real quick just to show the difference that makes.
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, actually, I like this frame. This is
Really?
This is a Casey McBeath frame that
No,
has
it's
been
not.
produced by you.
No, it's not.
I like this frame because I think it points out this is the key challenge that we're trying to face.
Yeah, this is the #1 thing people are gonna see when they turn their cameras on outside. And if you wanna just illustrate what a lot of people end up doing is like we can close down our aperture here. So this is a 22, which is terrible. I mean, everything's in focus at this point.
Okay.
And then we can still see that it's plenty overexposed. So we'll see a lot of people that start cranking down their shutter speed. So this is 1/200th of a second. So Nair, if I can just get you kind of to wave your arms like you just don't care, you can see how her arms kind of just like pop in and out of existence as they go from frame to frame.
Yeah, it looks super weird.
Yeah, this is the right exposure, but now our settings are completely goofed. So
Okay.
this is where we want to start introducing ND to try to get these settings back to what we want them to be.
Okay, so ND filters. So we have a couple ND filters here today, correct?
Yeah, so we've got some screw-on ones, which are probably the most, entry-level way of getting into it. They're cheap, affordable options.
Gotcha. So there are different levels of ND depending on how much light I want to cut. For outdoor shots like this, do you have kind of an approximate range for what NDs would work?
Typically, when you're outdoors, you'll probably be choosing something like a 0.9 all the way up to maybe a 2.1.
Got it. Got it. So 0.9, it goes in 3, so that's going to be basically 3 stops of light that you're cutting to this lens.
So right here, if we look at this highest one that we have, now we've got a really great exposure. So this is a 1.8 ND, so that's cutting out 6 stops of light.
Okay, sounds good. So now let's do something real quick here, because I think a lot of you guys out there, you guys, are shooting in houses and neighborhoods and stuff like that, but maybe you know, you're thinking, I don't have a house that looks exactly like this. This doesn't apply to me. So let's talk real quick about a couple of location ideas here.
Yeah.
And what are you looking for when you look at these locations? What's wrong with this frame over here?
I mean, so we've got a lot of weird empty space on this one. General framing, this isn't great because again, a lot of this stuff is front lit. Yeah. Once, like we could diffuse this light for her, but then we don't really have a lot of ability to redirect the light back into her.
Correct.
So I would say flipping around and shooting the other direction, if we have that ability, is probably a better place to start.
Got it. If we turn it this way, actually, you can see this is actually already starting to look a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's because the background is dark now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's taking into account like the time of day. So like right now, this wall is in shade. In a couple hours, as the sun continues to move around, that'll probably become much brighter. So for now, this works, but if you're trying to shoot all day, maybe not the best situation.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna give you a third location, and there, if you can come stand with us over here. How do you feel about this?
It's much better. It's significantly better. Like right now, like we've got a significantly more controlled exposure across the whole frame. Now the sun's backlighting, so anything that we're getting on her is more of an edge, like here on her shoulders. Much more preferable. Like this is the way to shoot.
Agreed. So when you're looking for locations, you can kind of pick and choose your battles. If you find a location that can solve all your problems off the bat, go for that location. And I think in this scene here, out of these 3 locations that we looked at, this is obviously the best one. Okay, so let's set up what this frame can look like real quick.
The only thing I would change is just because the light on her face is so even, it looks a bit flat. I would say if we cheat the frame on her right side in a little bit, so we can really bring in some negative fill.
Yeah.
Just try to suck some of the light out of her face so we get just some contrast ratios.
Let's do that.
Let's see what it looks like.
Let's do that.
So how far can I bring this in?
You can get closer.
I can get closer.
You can get closer. You can get closer. You're in frame now.
I'm in frame.
Back up, right there.
So is
that looks great.
Is that doing much?
Yes, absolutely. Here's the problem, Casey.
Yeah.
I don't like this. This is too easy. So what I'm gonna say, Casey, is you have to shoot this way. And you're not allowed to use this location because it's not fair, and because a lot of you guys out there, sometimes you have to shoot in this direction, and sometimes there's some monument or something like that that you have to include in the frame. And for those people out there,
yeah, let's do it.
Cool, sounds good. So,
okay, so there's a lot of things that we usually do when we're outdoors to help with lighting. We diffuse, we bounce.
Why do you seem so
we
bummed
reflect.
out? Lighting is fun.
No, Why
are you so bummed out?
Because
Casey, now we have an opportunity to play with toys.
Yes.
With real toys and solve real problems and create a beautiful frame out of nothing instead of just being given the beautiful frame to us. We get to sweat and work.
We get to work for it.
We get to be the Sisyphus of the day and make this shot beautiful.
You know that Sisyphus works forever, right? Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure.
I'm interrupting this exterior lighting interview setup thing to tell you about our sponsor today, Squarespace.com. You know it. It's good stuff. Today we're going to be talking about a website that you can make about our favorite friend, Casey Neistat. Wait, no, the other Casey. Casey McBeath, our one and only, who you're watching right now in this episode. Let's say you're an epic fan of Casey McBeath and you want to make a fan page for him. You know, Casey's known for having some incredible quotes in the videos that we produce with Ted, so I want to definitely have a section dedicated to Casey quotes. All you gotta do is just use those built-in templates and you can design your own section of Casey quotes. Let's have a listen, shall we?
This is no show like Game of Thrones.
Isn't that amazing how easy that was? But a true Casey McBeath fan page website would not be complete without the 6D Mark II section. I think for this section, we should have a rolling carousel of images with Casey looking perplexed and confused why Indie Mogul, one of the top filmmaking YouTube channels, is continually using the 6D Mark II. So if you want to build a website like the Casey McBeath fan page, then use the first link in the description below. And if you want to show your support, click the link because it means a lot to us. Squarespace.com/IndieMogul. Casey McBeath, interview specialist on the 6D Mark II. Now back to you, Ted and Casey. Outside, exterior interviews, lighting tutorials on Indie Mogul. Bye.
So the main tools that we use, or the main ways that we work outdoors, is we diffuse, we reflect, and we bounce. So in cases like this, we just want to think like what's going to make the biggest difference first. So as we could bounce to try to fill in the shadows that we have, I don't think that's going to make the biggest difference. I think the biggest difference is going to be diffusing the light that's hitting her. Because right now we've got, really hard light. It's hitting her on the eyebrows, which are casting shadows directly in her eyes, which is the last thing that we want.
So number one thing, fix the bad light that's in the scenario. Normally when you have bad light, you can just turn it off.
Yeah. So I know a lot of us, including myself, start off with like a flex fill or 5-in-1. I know we've got a couple of those.
So we're gonna start with that.
So these are really inexpensive tools that I feel like most filmmakers own at some time in their lives. Usually they're black, silver, white, and diffusion material. Pretty inexpensive. Everybody definitely should have one, at least somewhere.
This is in essence what we were trying to do for Nair.
Bonk.
Oh my gosh. So much better. Yes, the case if you can just stand there for 2 hours.
You got this, right?
So,
I mean,
so how do we rig something like this above our beautiful talent?
if you have a stand with an arm, you can just use something like that. If there's stuff around, you might be able to clip it to like a ceiling or a wall or an overhang.
Casey, how do we make this shot look just that much better?
So, I mean, the two big things are there's no hair light that would help separate her, and her eyes still don't have really kind of like that pop and spark of life.
Yeah.
But we can deal with the hair light the easiest because the light's already going this way, so it's super easy to bring it back this way.
Okay.
So why don't we grab something to where we can send this light back into her as a backlight.
You can just have your friend stand like this all day. That is also another option you can do. You know, some people don't have money, but they have friends.
Be careful how many times you make them do that though, because then you might not have friends either.
We've now got a reflector that's adding in a hair light to separate her from the background.
If we use the light that we're getting from our backlight and bounce something back into her with whatever's being wasted, then I think that would be a great way to improve this frame further.
So here's my question. ND filter, reflectors, couple stands. This is all indie stuff. So let me ask, on a lot of higher end sets, they're not using stuff like this.
Right.
And what is the reason why? If I can achieve an image that looks like this, why do I need, or why should I even look at the higher end tools?
Well, I mean, if you want to like rewind to back when we were trying to set up the top diffusion, obviously we were dealing with the fact that it's an imperfect way to place it. It's a bit floppy. It's not really all that controlled. With this, you can clamp it into a stand. You can have it vertical if you want. You don't need to figure out some rigging option. You can put it any angle you like. Typically with your 5-in-1 reflectors, they are just a standard silk insert for diffusion. But when you're using, gel frames, they can have any type of material. They can have quarter silk. They can have Hampshire frost.
Different levels of diffusion. How
Entirely.
soft do I want that light to be? You can choose that if you have professional tools.
Yes.
We're gonna replace all the indie tools with professional tools. The top diffusion we're gonna swap out with this. This is a 4x4 frame gridless diffusion. On the back there, we're gonna swap out that reflector side of the 5-in-1 reflector to a shiny board. And then on the front here, this actual bounce here, we're swapping that out to an ultra bounce frame again. So in the camera, you're probably not gonna see any differences. But now you know the main reason for why people need higher end tools and more professional tools, because sometimes you're trying to accomplish more professional shots. So now that we've got a good looking video here, this is only half of the battle though. So we got to talk about audio to be able to get some of those awesome lines of dialogue that are coming out, right?
Yeah.
So ready to talk about audio?
Me?
Yeah. Yours.
No.
You are not the audio person I need. Get out of here. I need some kind of audio expert. Andrew, get over here. Get in here. Okay. This is Andrew from DD Microphones. He's the best. Name a couple people that you've mic'd.
Melissa McCartney, Mark Wahlberg.
Selena Gomez.
Yeah, Selena Gomez.
Cool. Right on. So, let's talk about this. Can't think of a better person to talk about audio outdoors than this. So, Andrew, when we are doing audio outdoors, what are the main things that we got to think about?
So there's two main things I like to think about when I'm addressing the outdoor situation, and that is one, the elements. You're in them. There's no getting away from it. Can't turn off the air conditioner of life. So I got to tame the kind of environment around my microphone. So wind protection, first and foremost.
Got it. Walk me through the gear that we're using. What are these pieces?
So because we are in the environment, I've got a full-on dead cat blimp right here set up. My S-Mic 2 is inside of this. This is the Deity S-Mic 2. It's a longer shotgun, so it's perfect for outdoor environments. It's got side rejection. So the highway and the traffic on the other side of this house, it's gonna be completely rejected
We're
out.
actually right next to a highway right now. In case you were wondering,
One of the busiest highways in LA.
Is the audio situation in this environment awful? So we will make this work, and if we can make this work, you can make yours work too.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
I mean, yeah, we're hearing motorcycles, trucks, all that kind of stuff. So I've got a longer shotgun.
Just a challenge that a budding audio person needs.
The blimp is creating that perfect air environment inside. There's no moving air inside of this chamber.
This is stopping the wind noise.
All wind is getting stopped.
Okay.
And then I'm flying this actually on a cabled K-Tech boom pole. Okay. The reason why I went with the cabled pole instead of a non-cabled pole, yes, I could do a non-cabled pole and it would be cheaper, but then I've got to secure that pole like crazy with like bongo ties and zip ties and everything to keep the cable from slapping against the pole during the interview.
Gotcha.
And on longer interviews, if the wind is an issue, that's a real issue that's gonna happen for you. And by having it all inside, I don't have to worry about my cable moving. So for the recorder, I'm actually using the new HETX. It's got an internal recorder in it. Okay. So traditionally, you know, you'd put like a transmitter on your pole, which this can also be. Okay. But for this setup, we don't need all that extra stuff. If I just hit record and this plugs into the back of my boom pole, I'm done.
How do we actually rig this above our town and in the right place so that we can catch these lines of dialogue that are coming out?
So the first thing I would ask in terms of rigging is I would go to my director or producer, which is you today. Sure. And I would say, you know, is this a 5-minute interview? Is this like something like an on the fly? We're gonna ask a couple of quick questions and move on to the rest of our segment. Or is this a full on, we're gonna be shooting here for like the next hour?
You said the plant nursery has been in business for 7 months?
7 months now. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I want to talk a lot about like every day, you know, every day of those 7 months.
So
Probably gonna be about an 8-hour interview.
Yeah.
8-hour interview.
And that's pretty short if you think about it. We're taking 24-hour days.
Yeah.
7 months of those, and we're compressing them into 8 hours. It's pretty,
I mean, yeah,
pretty astonishing.
That's a pretty good compression rate.
I agree. Very good compression rate. I like the terms you're using.
Yeah.
So,
And in those situations, I immediately grab my stand.
got it. And then this right here, what are we looking at?
So that is my boom caddy.
Okay.
That actually locks right into a traditional knuckle.
Super simple.
If you want to go on a budget, you can go to like a big box store that has fishing and tackle kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Get the one with the threads. They're cheaper. These are meant for fishing. Fishing.
Andrew with the indie hookup again.
If you get the one that doesn't have threads, it's like super smooth, you'll pay double the price. So I like to set my stand off on the opposite of the key.
Okay.
So I'm on the soft side of the face.
Okay, so this is our key right now because again, we're diffusing this way. So we're gonna be on the opposite side. This is the darker side, and we're gonna rig our boom pole there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What you're looking for is you're gonna place that shotgun microphone just about 8 inches to 6 inches above the head and slightly forward.
Gotcha.
What you're aiming for is not necessarily the mouth, you're aiming for this area also because you want the chest noise. A lot of people don't realize this. The human voice doesn't just come from the mouth, it also comes from the nose as well as the chest.
And 8 inches is about this long, right?
Yep, do
Correct.
the little unicorn.
So can you give us a little unicorn? All right,
Boom.
sounds good. So we're gonna place right there for our unicorn. So when we're setting our levels, what are we trying to make sure of?
So what we're trying to make sure of is we're hitting -12 dB in our audio recorder.
Okay.
What this is gonna allow us to do is the average speaking voice will hit that -12. When they get passionate, they'll get up to -6 dB.
Andrew, what do you think? Is there anything else we need for audio?
I think we're actually pretty darn set and ready to go.
Cool.
I may do a quick check, like literally right before the interview, just a last minute kind of thing,
Okay.
but that's about it.
Sounds good. Cool. Andrew, would you please kindly excuse yourself off the set?
Oh yeah, I'll go back to Crafty, no worries.
We got a beautiful looking frame here, but is there anything else we can do to kind of spice up the end product here?
The end product. Well, I mean, a lot of times what you can do to give yourself more editing options is if you have another angle or a second camera that you can add in, that gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we have a second camera here today, which we do, we're gonna be bringing in the Canon EOS R. Where would you put something like this?
You know, I'd try to match the other one as much as possible. With your tighter angles, you usually want to get it closer to the eye line. So we just want to think about how we're setting her up where she's talking. So maybe what we do, if we bring this to the right side of our wide camera, we would just then have her talk to the right side of both cameras. So that way she's not kind of splitting. If she's looking at one, they're not cutting back and forth.
So for the settings, we kind of match everything.
Yeah.
Everything is matched between the two cameras.
Yes, same frame rate, same color balance, same picture profile, same shutter speed, same,
Cool.
not necessarily same aperture. You can
Yeah.
futz around with that, but
Sure.
yeah.
And then again, for the camera choice too, is there a reason why you'd want to choose, how do you pair your cameras for the most part?
You know, it's so important to try to get very similar cameras because even if you're in the same family, they can have wildly different, you know, dynamic range and color renditions if you're talking about like a high-end Canon camera versus a low-end camera. So this just really helps keep everything look uniform, not be distracting. I mean, what you're trying to go for is just a seamless video.
Yeah. That shot looks pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with it. I think you can.
Looks good, right?
Yeah, you can make this work.
Okay. You ready to do this actual interview?
By all means.
I think the last thing we need to do is actually do the interview itself. So, you ready, Nair?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So, camera speeds.
Speed.
Sound speeds.
Hi, Nerida. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
So, I started a business because I felt that plants were getting lonely and neglected when people were leaving for work. I know during the current time it's less of a thing, but I really wanted plants to feel loved rather than being left at home by their own. I started Plant Daycare, and it's called Shrubbery Daycare. We have outdoor time, and yeah, most plants that you wouldn't know, they love playing fetch. They're very good at it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
If you're a busy parent and you're worried about leaving your plants at home on their own, come to me, give us a call. We will take such good care of your plants and make sure they're never bored and never neglected. Isn't that right, Dave?
Alrighty, okay, sounds good. There you have it, guys. There's your episode on shooting interviews outdoors. How do I make a ugly location look good? How do I make sure that the lighting looks good? How do I make sure that the audio works with all the gear step by step so that you guys can hopefully follow along? People, if they have questions, can they find you online, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can ask questions in the comments down below. I try to get to those as often as I can, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, which is McBro_FTW.
Right on. And likewise, if people have audio questions, Andrew, can people ask you questions as well?
Absolutely. If they want to ask us questions, they can go over to our YouTube channel, Deity Microphones. In any video, drop a comment down in that section using #mailbag, and that's how we actually answer a lot of y'all's questions.
And then Nerida, if people want to find you in the shrubbery, where can they go?
So it's at Shrubbery Daycare. No, that's made up. But if you want to find me, I'm Nerida Brunwen, so at NERIDABRONWEN.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for watching. This is Indie Mogul, of course, and we will catch you guys next time. Do you guys hear the highway next to us?
This is the environment that you guys rented. Always the best from Indie Mogul.
We picked the best locations.
Best
for
of
you guys.
locations. I think the last time you had me on, it was an echo chamber. Like literally, you rented the echo chamber off the website.
Just the challenge that a budding professional needs.